Alrighty, so it's time to do the review of match week number 2, and as it is the case throughout this season, whenever we have every single game happening on Saturday, I'm going to split the review into 2 parts, and in this review, I'll look at the first 8 games that happened in match week number 2, and then in the next video, which I'll upload tomorrow, will be the last 6 games to finish off match week number 2. But in terms of this match week, so in the opening match week, we saw no draw that happened in all 14 of these games. There was 5 of them in match week number 2, and 3 of them actually ended in a 0-0 draw. And we almost had a 4th one, too, in one of the games that it was staying 0-0 for a very long time before someone actually did get a winner late in the game. But the other thing that's kind of interesting in terms of this match week is that there wasn't really a lot of scoring that happened. I mean, the goal scoring is definitely down in terms of some of these games, but that's not the case, at least for the first game we're going to talk about between the Portland Timbers and LAFC. In fact, this was the highest scoring game out of match week number 2, and you know, at one point in this game, LAFC was cruising in this one. I mean, they were leading 3-0 against the Portland Timbers. Looks like they were on their way to get an easy victory, and then it kind of got a little interesting, kind of got a little bit hairy late in this game for the host. But in the first half, by the way, before the game, they did do the ring ceremony. They presented the rings to those LAFC players, which I think for some of those foreign players, it was kind of weird because, you know, for some of these foreign players, I don't think they realize that, you know, in American culture, when you win a championship, you basically present a ring. That's probably not the case in other culture. But nevertheless, they were presented the rings, and they even hang the championship banner, which I can confirm it's definitely bigger than the one that NYCFC hang in terms of their MLS Cup banner at Yankee Stadium. But nevertheless, in the 3rd minute, Bawanga did pose it just wide from close range before Vela blasted high from long range. It was a good start for LAFC, and that was very important for this team because normally when we have like a ring ceremony or some big ceremony, you would think that maybe there's a let off for the home team, and especially for this LAFC team too. I mean, with the players getting their rings, it can be easy to have that used as a distraction, and can have that as just kind of realize that, hey, you know, we did it. We finally conquered the mountain of MLS, and now we don't really need to do so now that the season begin. But nope, this LAFC team was focused very well, and that, you know, they did not use that as a distraction, and they were showing that motivation that they're going to defending their MLS ground. In fact, they would get the opening goal in the 24th minute, and it comes from an unlikely source. It's Chiellini scoring his first career MLS goal, and yeah, this was not great defending from the Portland Timbers. I mean, not clear their lines there, and defending would be a huge issue for this Timber side, especially from the corner. In the 29th minute, Hollinshead would score, look like the second goal for the host, but the goal was disallowed because there was a foul in the box from the corner. I think the whistle was already long, bro. So I think Hollinshead knew that even though he put that one into the back net, it was not going to be counted. But again, the Timbers, they just cannot defend the corner, and it shouldn't be a big surprise that in the 33rd minute, a penalty was given to LAFC after Moreno brought down Opoku in the box, and it came from a corner. I mean, they didn't really clear their lines very well. It was a rash challenge there from Santiago Moreno to block down Mahala in the box, which Carlos Vela steps up to take the penalty, and you know Vela is not going to miss. He puts that one away to make it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. Opoku then hits one straight to Bingham, and then McCarthy denied Larea in the front post before Chara puts it wide from the long range. And, you know, the Timbers, to their credit, they're starting to show some life a little bit. I mean, they were getting absolutely dominated in this first half, but they did show some life, and we're looking to try to maybe get one back before halftime. But we do head to halftime with LAFC leading 2-0. In the second half, Vela would then brush the post on the free kick, and once again, LAFC come out strong in the second half, looking to try to get that 3rd goal, and they do. It's Opoku scoring from Vela and Bawanga to make it 3-0 in favor of LAFC. They mentioned that's Mahala's 3rd goal, or actually not 3rd goal, I mean 8th goal of his career. That was the 3rd goal for LAFC, and that's kind of surprising because I thought Mahala Opoku have scored more goals in his career than the 8 that they mentioned. But nevertheless, that was his 8th career goal, and really this just came off of just a bad turnover from the Portland Timbers. Yeah, you cannot turn the ball over in your own half and not expect to get punished by this LAFC team. Like, we know this LAFC team is lethal on the counterattack, but to just give them a short field to work on transition, that is a death sentence for the Portland Timbers. So, yeah, they find themselves 3-0 down, and it looked like it was 4-0 in the 57th minute, as once again, Hollinshead puts it into the back of the net. But unfortunately, the goal was disallowed for offside, so yeah, that's going to be a tough day for Ryan Hollinshead. I mean, twice that he thought that he got a goal in this game, and twice was disallowed. One was because of a foul in the box, and the other because of offside. But the Timbers, they just looked completely rattled. Like, it was one-way traffic. It was all LAFC. But then in the 62nd minute, this is when the game kind of started to turn in Portland's favor. And it started with them getting one back from Evander scoring from Mascara. So Evander opening his goal scoring account, and certainly one of many goals that we're going to see this guy going to get throughout his time with the Portland Timbers. Then Fazaka would heads it high from the corner. I thought Nathan Fazaka had a good game in this one, and he really changed the dynamic of this game when he came on. But again, the Timbers, they show some life again, and it looked like it was also a combination of LAFC kind of took their foot off the gas maybe a little bit too early. And then in the 84th minute, that's when we thought we maybe will have some MLS After Dark or some peak MLS moment. Which, speaking of which, this week, unfortunately, we didn't really see as much of that compared to the opening weekend. But it looked like it was setting up to that be the case in this match, because Paredes would score from Fazaka to make it 3-2 in favor of LAFC, and not a great moment there from John McCarthy. I mean, he came off his lines there, didn't get to that ball there, and when you're a goalkeeper and you don't get to the ball whenever the ball is delivered in the box, and in this case from the corner, yeah, you are basically asking to get conceded or concede a goal, and that is exactly what happened. And you can definitely sense that there was some nervy energy inside BMO Stadium. By the way, it's still weird to call that stadium BMO Stadium, because anytime when I mention the word BMO, always associate with the two Canadian team, that is Toronto and Montreal. But yeah, there was definitely some nervy energy. I mean, it was a party atmosphere throughout the game, but yeah, all of a sudden, this game is a one-goal game, and that the Timbers, you know, they definitely have all the momentum, but fortunately for LAFC, they were able to kind of eventually pick up their slack and kind of close out this game, as the Timbers really didn't create any chance down the line. And in the end, LAFC, you know, we kind of got a little hairy in the end, but they do win 3-2 in this one. Shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 9 that the Timbers had. Both teams had 5 shots on goal. Both teams had 3 shots off target. 7 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that LAFC has in this game. And, you know, for the Timbers, credit to Giovanni Savarese, this team didn't give up. I mean, many teams, when you go down 3-0 on the road, you could easily just give up. But they didn't give up in this one. But obviously, they'll be very frustrated, especially of themselves. Shouldn't be finding themselves 3-0 down in any case. And that, you know, again, if you minus the last 25 minutes that they play very well, it was a rough afternoon for the Portland Timbers in this one down at BMO Stadium. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match, and now we get into the busy part of the match week number 2 of all the 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific start. And we start off with Atlanta versus Toronto FC. And by the way, I think this is the second consecutive week I began talking about Atlanta as part of the first of the many 7:30 and 4:30 p.m. Pacific time start. But in this game between them and Toronto FC, once again, they found themselves 1-0 down in this one. But once again, they were able to get themselves the equalizer, but unfortunately, unlike the last game against the Quakes, they weren't able to come all the way back to win this one. But in the first half, Barry would hit one into the side netting before Cervania had a long-range effort that goes wide. Gutman then drives one that goes high from long range before Johnson denying Rossetto from 17 yards out. Much better game for Sean Johnson in this one. In fact, I think he was kind of the difference in this one. Have Sean Johnson did not make some big save for TFC in this game, I think Atlanta probably would have walked away with all 3 points in this one. But nevertheless, Atlanta definitely was pressing late in the first half to get, well, not the winner, but definitely the opening goal of this one. Maybe a little bit too early for me to say that they're looking to get themselves the winning goal. But I also thought that the gaps were once again apparent on on this TFC defense, and this has to be a real concern for TFC because, again, this season they thought that they might have fixed the back line with some addition this off season, but so far some of those new addition in that back line for TFC has just not worked whatsoever. But in the 41st minute, Johnson would deny Rissetto again before Peralta would head one over the bar from the corner. But we do head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Atlanta continued to have some good opportunity. Araujo would hit one right to Johnson, and then Guzan had to deny Bernadeschi in the front post. I mean, up to that point, Guzan hasn't had a lot to do, but he had to make a big save there to deny Bernadeschi in the front post. And again, both teams getting some good early chances in the second half. And eventually, we do get the opening goal of this game. And it's Bernadeschi scoring here from Bradley to give TFC a 1-0 lead. And, you know, the good news for TFC is that at least Bernadeschi is continuing to score for them because he's really kind of now the guy that they heavily need to rely on. Knowing the fact that, you know, we already talked about Lorenzo Insigne being injured. But recently, we saw Diamande also ends up in the IR list with a hamstring injury. And again, just another example of what I said in the season preview of what I fear about this TFC team not having a lot of depth and maybe go through a bit of an injury crisis, and it's already happening in the beginning of the season. But yeah, great to see that, you know, if you're a TFC fan, that at least one of your star striker is still scoring the goal for this team. But Bradley did try to answer, but he hits it straight to not Guzan, but to Johnson there. Possession was 70-30 in favor of Atlanta, but, you know, TFC, I thought they had the upper hand in the last 5 minutes. Or actually, I'm sorry, Bradley did hit that one straight to Guzan there. I don't know why I said he did not hit that one straight to Guzan. There's no way he's going to hit that one right to his teammate. But nevertheless, as I said, you know, TFC did have the upper hand, but that all changed in the 60th minute because Atlanta would get the equalizer. It's Rissetto scoring from Amada and Etienne Jr. to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Good on Matias Rissetto scoring there because I thought he had a good game up to that point. But then in the 76th minute, one of their big signing of this off season, Gio Kiss looked like he got himself a dream debut at Atlanta United, scoring the goal there to give Atlanta the 2-1 lead. The only problem was the offside flag went up. And I'm not going to lie, this was very close. This was incredibly close of being offside. I think it was Peralta, the one that was in an offside position on the attacking sequence. But yeah, it was very close. I think it might be too close to have them overturn the call because obviously, you know, if they were going to overturn the call, it has to be clear and obvious. And again, I don't think it was clear and obvious. But I also don't blame some Atlanta fans not happy. The fact that, yeah, on the naked eye look, that definitely didn't look like it was offside on this Atlanta team. Or at least it was very, very tight for them to just say that it's offside. But nevertheless, in the 81st minute, Johnson would rob Gutman from point-blank range. Again, Sean Johnson keeping this team in this game, trying to steal a point for TFC in this one. Atlanta continued to press for the lead, and TFC was just holding on for dear life. Johnson then denied Peralta on the header in the 85th minute, and in the end, TFC able to hold on to get the point in this one, a 1-1 draw over Atlanta United. Shots in this one, 16 shots committed, just 4 that TFC had. 6 shots on goal committed, 3 that TFC had. 7 shots off target committed, 1 that TFC had. No shots that was blocked committed, 3 that Atlanta has. And possession-wise, 67% possession compared to 33% possession that TFC has in this game. So yeah, for Atlanta, very frustrating that they couldn't get all 3 points. I mean, it was kind of unfortunate that they kind of ran into Sean Johnson that decided to go back to his MLS Cup title form with NYCFC, just making some big save in this game for TFC. But yeah, for TFC, you know, it was a good bounce back performance in this one. I mean, you know, with the way that they have a lot of injuries already to deal with, I think this would definitely be a good role point for a team that, again, you know, this is why I didn't have them pretty high in the standings, because I knew injury was going to kill them again this season. Little did we know that I didn't think that it was going to happen this early in this season. But that being said, moving on, in the next one is Columbus versus DC United. So Columbus, they bounced back after a rough game against the Union with a 2-0 win against DC, and they got the goal scoring happen early, as Zarian would score his first goal of the season from Cucho to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. Don't be surprised, we're going to see a lot of that combination throughout the season for the Columbus crew. Paulson did try to respond for DC, but his header was clear off the line, and then Room denied Roberta on the header from the corner. And, DC, they were pressing back. Like, they were looking to try to get themselves the equalizer. Matan then puts one right to Miller before Cucho hits one into the side netting. Then Benteke had a free header, but missed high there. Yeah, that's one that Benteke would love to have back, because we know that he is definitely a force in terms of heading those one in. But in the 39th minute, on the other end, Cucho hits one into the side netting again from close range. And again, it's been back and forth. Like, there's been chances for both of these teams to get the next goal, and that you just had a sense that it was coming pretty soon. And it did. In the 44th minute, Columbus would double their lead. And it's Lucas Arian scoring again from Matans and Maria to make it 2-0 in favor of the crew. Then in the first minute of stoppage time, it was almost 3-0 if it wasn't for Tyler Miller robbing Cucho on a diving header. Cucho, so far it hasn't been the best start of the season for him, but I will, in terms of goal scoring, but I will say that he is trying hard to do so, and he came close in terms of getting his first goal of the season. But we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 2-0. Now, in the second half, there wasn't as much happening with chances compared to what we saw in the first half. In fact, there was limited chances compared to what we saw in the first half. But that kind of favors the Columbus crew because, it's time to kind of maybe button up and just cruise their way to get all 3 points. Cucho would then fires it just wide from the free kick. Again, Cucho really was working hard to trying to get his first goal of the season. And really, as the time winds down, DC, they did create some half chances to get back into the game. Birnbaum had a chance in the 3rd minute stoppage time and hits one right to Rome before Yamil Assad made substitute appearance, but he hits one right to Room there in the 5th minute stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, Columbus, a relatively comfortable 2-0 win over DC. Shots in this one, 15 shots for the 12 that Columbus had, 4 shots on goal for the 3 that DC had, 8 shots off target for the 6 that Columbus had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that DC had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Columbus has in this game. And like I said, for the crew, it was a comfortable victory. But for DC, I don't think they played bad in this game, but they just didn't capitalize on those chances. And when you're the team that is going to be the underdog, you have to capitalize those chances. And I'm pretty sure Wayne Rooney is going to try to drill into this team, because if they would have capitalized on their chances, maybe this game would have been more interesting compared to a relatively easy 2-0 win for the Columbus crew in their season home opener. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match, and certainly probably the most surprising result from match week number 2, and maybe the most surprising result, at least early in this season, is Inter Miami and the Philadelphia Union. So, after the last game where the Union absolutely drilled the Columbus crew at home, we thought that they were going to be once again a free scoring team, and maybe they're going to do the same thing to Inter Miami. But little did we know that Inter Miami basically said no. And that I think Inter Miami is definitely on a mission to prove a lot of doubters wrong, and even myself too, because I didn't believe that this team was going to do well this season. I thought they were going to take a step back, but they definitely are proving a lot of people wrong, at least in these first 2 games. In the first half, there was a couple of half chances for both of these teams to start the game. Carranza would hit a weak shot off. That goes right to Calendar. I thought Carranza had a good game in this one. I mean, obviously he knew that he has to have a good game, because when you're facing against your former team, that it does give some motivation for him to, of course, score against his former team. But nevertheless, that was really kind of the only chances besides the half chances that we had in the first 10 minutes, because it kind of got a little bit scrappy. Like, there was a lot of whistle, a lot of stop and go situation. The referee was kind of a little bit trigger happy in terms of reaching his yellow card there. I think we saw like 4 yellow cards in the span of just the first 30 minutes, which that is a lot for the first 30 minutes. But despite the fact that there was no real pace into this game, we did see the opening goal in the 32nd minute. And it's Inter Miami, the one that gets the opening goal, as Corton John would score from Pizarro to give Inter Miami a 1-0 lead. And while that was a great goal from John from long range, yeah, I think for Andre Blake, I feel like he could have done better in terms of this one. Like, I get it. Yes, it was a low-driven shot with a lot of pace, and it was definitely knuckling toward goal. But when you have pretty much the goalkeeper of the year, or the reigning goalkeeper of the year, like Andre Blake, you expect him to save that one. And I'm pretty sure he's thinking about that too, because, yeah, I mean, he did get a hand to it, but, you know, with how good Blake is in terms of pushing those away, you feel like he probably should have done better in terms of it. But Miami wouldn't care. They were leading 1-0 in this one. In the 34th minute, Calendar would deny Gastak from close range before Gastak would put it wide from close range. I mean, this is the thing about the Union. Even though they're down 1-0, yeah, you got to make sure that you of course can ride out the storm, because you can clearly see this team, they have woke up. Like, I think Miami might have just kind of woke up a sleeping giant in the Union after just a slow start in this game. They were pressing hard to try to get the equalizer. Uru had a chance in the 45th minute, but he puts it just high on the volley. But we do have to have time with Miami able to have the 1-0 lead heading into the second half. And in the second half, I thought Miami did a good job in terms of not allowing the Union to continue that momentum heading into the second half. In fact, they had a chance to make it 2-0 if it wasn't for Mota stroking the post from long range. Like, this team just loved to hit those long range efforts. We saw that in the last game against Montreal, and they did it again in this one. And not only they love hitting those long range efforts, but most of them came close. I mean, this one was just from a pulse away for them to get the 2-0 lead. Though Calendar did have to deny Carranza again, this time in the front post, and that was a big save for Drake Calendar, because just a couple of minutes later, Miami would double their lead. It's Robert Taylor scoring from Malta to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. That is definitely the goal of the week. I mean, there is no doubt that is the goal of the week, and maybe even an early contention for goal of the year, because this goal really reminds me of that Darlington Ackby goal that was scored. And I think that one ended up winning the goal of the year a couple of years ago, where, you know, Ackby basically chests that one down and just rifles it on the volley. Same thing here with Robert Taylor. He chests this one down with a perfect technique and just rifles this one toward the top right corner. Blake had absolutely no chance in terms of saving that. And yeah, that gives Inter Miami a 2-0 lead. Glasnes then hit one right to Calendar, as the Union did try to push to get one back to maybe set up a grandstand finish, but it was not meant to be, as in the end, Inter Miami, an impressive 2-0 victory against the Philadelphia Union, really sending a lot of message to the Eastern Conference and a lot of haters out there that, yeah, this season they're going to be even better than what we saw from last season. But the shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 11 that the Union has, 4 shots on goal compared to 2 that Miami has, 7 shots off target compared to 3 that Miami has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to none that the Union has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And that what's even more impressive of what Inter Miami has done in this first 2 games is that neither of their strikers has really got on the score sheet yet. I mean, we still haven't seen Joseph Martinez gets on the score sheet, or Leo Campana, although, you know, in Campana's case, might not be for a while because he's still coming back from an injury. But yeah, you know, it's been very impressed to see how of course they have been playing. Now, obviously, there is definitely going to be that question of, is this going to be sustainable, especially with the way that, yes, it's been impressive that they've been able to get those wins at home, but we'll see whether they can do the same thing on the road, and especially those long range effort. Well, it's definitely great to see them hit those. Usually that is maybe not sustainable. We usually don't see a team that just keep scoring golazo every single week, unless your name is Hassani Dotson. But yeah, very impressive victory though, nevertheless, for Inter Miami and for the Philadelphia Union. Again, I feel like they maybe fall in the trap in this game. You know, they probably are looking forward to CCL, not to realize that, yeah, they probably shouldn't have taken Inter Miami too lightly in this game. And I think this is also a great example of why we have parity in this league, and how even some of the best team in the league will have an off game. And again, this was one of the rare times that Jim Curtin's team had a relatively off game, but there's no doubt that I think they're going to bounce back in the next one, and especially in CCL, they're going to be more hungry to bounce back after this disappointing result. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games to finish off part 1 of this review of match week number 2. So moving on in the next one, we got the New England Revolution and the Houston Dynamo. And remember last week I praised the Houston Dynamo that even though they lost that game against FC Cincinnati, they definitely shown some improvement on the road and definitely shown that they can definitely go toe-to-toe with teams on the road, even though the result is not there. Yeah, in this game, it's safe to say that they definitely took a big step back and that this looked like it was kind of similar to what we see the Dynamo have done on the road for the past couple of years, which is, yeah, they just kind of gone completely flat. Though, I will say that to the Dynamo's defense, I did think that they at least played well in the first half in this game, but when the Revs basically pour it on in this one, we probably know who was going to win this game after it was all over. But in the first half, there was actually some snow flurries that was falling down at Gillette Stadium to start the game. Now, not enough to basically cover the field, though. On the field, you definitely saw those orange kind of line because they were worried that, it was probably going to be snowing very hard and that we were probably going to see a snow game. Like, this is also one of the things I love about these early season match because there's still a chance that we maybe see some game that have like a snow Classico, especially in these East Coast city, but unfortunately the flurry wasn't big enough to cover the whole field with snow, and also no orange ball. Sadly, I was really hoping that we would see an orange ball, but I can also understand why they decided not to bring the orange ball because Houston was wearing orange in this game, and it wouldn't have matched well if you decide to bring the ball with the same color as one of these teams. But nevertheless, in the third minute, Herrera did hit one right to Petrovic before Franco hits one right to Petrovic. And again, it was a promising start for the Houston Dynamo. They picked up where they left off in the last game, but hopefully they can get the result this time if they show some fight on the road. Fast forward to the 36th minute, Dorsey would hit one right to Petrovic before Bai with the Revs' first real good look, but he blasts one into Rowe Island. Yeah, I mean, that was just not a great shot there from Brendan Bai. But it was for Dylan Barrero in the 42nd minute because he would score here from Wood and Bai to give the Revs a 1-0 lead. That has to be gut punch for the Dynamo because up to that point I thought they played well and then they basically concede because of sloppy defending. Though Herrera did try to get one back, but he blasted wide from long range in the second minute of stoppage time, and we do head to halftime with New England leading 1-0. Now in the second half, the Revs were definitely on the front foot because I know Bruce Arena probably said in the halftime talk that, yeah, we're up 1-0, but we have not played anywhere close to our capability, and that we got to make sure we got to get that second goal and not allow the Houston Dynamo to get back into this game. And the team definitely responded because they were on the front foot. They were trying to get that second goal, and they would get it in the 53rd minute. It's Bobby Wood scoring here from Jones and Heel. I believe that's the first goal for Bobby Wood. Well, yeah, it is his first goal for the Revs in this one to make it 2-0 in favor of New England. Then Barrero would put one into the side netting, and it was all Revs now. Like, the Revs were completely controlling this game, and this looked like it was a familiar sight for Dynamo fans on the road where they just get completely flattened by the home team. And in the 65th minute, it was all but over, as Brendan Bai would score here from Blessing and Barrero to make it 3-0 in favor of New England. It did took a deflection, but, when you're the team that with the upper hand and have played much better in the second half, you're going to get those lucky kind of deflection, which is exactly what we saw in this one from New England. And then McCoon trying to make it 4-0 in favor of the Revs, but he puts it over from long range, and he came even closer in the first minute of stoppage time. In fact, he would have scored the fourth goal for New England if it wasn't for the post getting in the way here, as it denied McCoon from a long range effort. But in the end, New England, they won 3-0 in this one. As the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 8 that Houston has, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Dynamo has, 2 shots that was off target compared to 3 that New England has, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Revs has in this game. And again, for the Revs, I talked about before in the season preview, it's important for them to get off to a good start to wash away the bad memories of last season, and they definitely have done so, becoming one of the 4 teams to remain undefeated and have got 6 points after the first 2 weeks. But for the Houston Dynamo, yeah, this is definitely a huge step back with the way that they just got absolutely crushed, especially what we saw in the second half. But that being said, moving on in the next match, We got the New York Red Bulls versus Nashville SC, and let's be honest, let's get this game over with, because I think you can clearly say that this game is basically an early contention for the snooze fest of the season, because, yeah, judging by the fact that I didn't really write a lot of notes in this game is just a big telling story that not much actually happened in this one. Though, I also kind of had a feeling that there was going to be a case where this was going to be a bit of a snooze fest, because, you know, the Red Bulls in that game against Orlando, you can see that they kind of had a tough time in terms of figuring things out, especially on the attack. And then you also got Nashville, and, you know, it feels like maybe Gary Smith still hasn't learned the fact that, yeah, he's going to still play that very, very frustrating style of soccer where when this Nashville team is on the road, he's going to still heavily rely on them going through the low block and basically trying to counter to see if they can maybe nick a goal or two. And not only the fact that, I mean, they did a good job in terms of the low block, but they definitely did not do a good job in terms of countering and even creating many chances in this one. But early on in the first half, the first shot of the game came in the 12th minute when Willis denied Token in the back post. McCarty then flashed one wide from close range as he was looking to score against his former team. But yeah, after that, the game kind of went in a bit of a snooze fest, and that would be the story pretty much in this game. As heading into the second half, once again, not a lot of chances to start the second half, though the first chance did came in the 54th minute with Manuel puts one right to Willis before Reyes would hit one close. But then in the 69th minute, looked like we were at least going to get a goal in a snooze fest kind of game, as Alex Mule looked like he was going to score against his former team, but the offside flag says otherwise, as it went up, so that goal didn't count. Willis then denied Manuel from close range before Reyes has the last chance of the game as he hits it wide. But that even if that one went in, it wouldn't have counted either way, because the whistle was blown way before when Reyes hits that one in, as there was a foul in the box there. And yeah, in the end, it ends in a very, very snooze fest scoreless draw. I mean, you know, my condolences definitely for anyone that actually watched this game for the full 90 minutes, and also for those that attended this game. It looked like it was a well attended game in this one. There wasn't as much empty seats I saw at Red Bull Arena as I seen recently, though again, a lot of that has to do is because this is a season opener, and attendance has been pretty good in terms of a lot of these season opener and a lot of hypes around the new season of MLS. But this is definitely not a game that will bring a lot of hype in terms of the craziness we see in this season, because like I said, it ends in a boring 0-0 draw. Shots in this one, only 13 shots combined for both of these teams. 8 shots that was for the Red Bulls compared to just 5 that Nashville has. Nashville had no shots on goal compared to 3 that the Red Bulls had. 4 shots off target compared to 3 that Nashville has. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Red Bulls had. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And like I said, the less said about this game, the better. And that I don't think neither of these fan base is going to be very happy with this result. I mean, maybe Nashville fans will be happy because they got a point on the road, but I'm pretty sure that they're once again fed up about Gary Smith putting this kind of boring brand of soccer just to kind of get a point on the road. And for the New York Red Bulls, again, you know, it's been a disappointing start to the season. I mean, I get that they're still trying to figure things out, and they're still trying to get their star striker Dante Vinicius into this team, but yeah, it's just not been a great start for a team that I thought that this team was going to be a competitor in the Eastern Conference, and they can still be, but it's definitely a slow start for this team. And not to mention the problems of picking up 3 points at home already has started with them dropping points once again at Red Bull Arena. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match, is another 0-0 draw between Orlando City versus FC Cincinnati. Now, the good news about this 0-0 draw, it was definitely more entertaining compared to what we saw in this game, and that's saying something, because this game really set a low bar in terms of what you can say it is an entertaining 0-0 draw. Though I will say that in this game, if you're an FC Cincinnati fans, you definitely did not enjoy this 0-0 draw, because this was a game that they clearly should have won. They had a lot of chances in this game, and I would also say that, you know, maybe there's some early concern about the front three of this FC Cincinnati team, because both Brenner, Acosta, and Vasquez, all of them have not yet got on the score sheet at all in the first 2 games of this this new season for Cincinnati. But early on in the first half, speaking of those front three, Brenner would puts it just wide after he was in on goal. And again, this is the thing that I think I'm going to continue to see with Brenner, the fact that, there is that big concern of after that big move that he could have had to go to Nottingham Forest this offseason didn't go through. I wonder where the confidence has to be with him, and that, at least the good news is at least he is still trying to get himself into good position, but, it's not going to help the fact that if he doesn't put away those chances. And I get it. Yes, it's definitely tough for a player to see their fail move to Europe didn't come through, but you can't just simply kind of crater in and basically said that, okay, yeah, I'm just going to take that personally and not have a decent season. But in the 10th minute, Schlegel did head it just wide from close before Torres puts it wide from long range. And, there were some good early chances for both of these teams searching for the opening goal. Galese would then deny Brenner, but he did give up a rebound, and unfortunately there was no Cincinnati player looking to capitalize on that one. Galese then denied Acosta on the free kick, as Cincinnati again getting some good looks as they were looking to press to get the lead in the first half, but they were unable to do so as we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Forrison would blast one into the wall as in the 51st minute, Vasquez struck the post from point blank, but the rebound actually fell kindly right to Acosta, but he was denied by Galese there. Vasquez then heads it wide from close range before Acosta. Yeah, he should have scored. Like, he was in on goal, but he missed that one wide from close range. And again, this is the thing about this front three. They're not producing at a rate that we saw last season. Like, if this was last season, this front three would have easily had 3 goals by now. But because of the fact that they have had a bit of an early season struggle, it's got to be frustrating if you're a Cincinnati fan seeing this front three that was supposed to have another good season, and it just hasn't been the case. And again, they pressed to try to get the opener, but finishing has been a problem, especially in that front three. Acosta then put a weak shot right to Galese before Vasquez would put it wide also on a weak shot. And I also thought that Orlando was starting to reel a little bit, because there was times where there was a lot of desperate defending, and there was some bad turnover that they were committing against this Cincinnati team. And again, it's not a surprise that Orlando was going to be reeling in this game, because coming into this game we knew that they were going to rest starters, and they kind of did in this one, so that they were just hoping maybe they can get themselves a draw out of this game. And they do. They get the 0-0 draw in this one over Cincinnati. Shots in this one: 11 shots with the 7 that Orlando has, 1 shots on goal with the 4 that Cincinnati has, 5 shots off target with the 4 that Orlando has. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Orlando City has in this game. But I will say that for Orlando, they need to play better, at least in these first two games that they have a shot against Tigres, because just judging by how these first 2 games is, and I'll probably just say judging by the first game, because I don't think this game is a good mark of how they're going to do against Tigres, but just judging by how they play in their opener, I don't really have a lot of hope that they can be able to overcome the almighty Tigres. And I think that game against Tigres down in Mexico, that is going to be a huge telling story, because I think if Orlando City get absolutely smacked by Tigres in that game down in Mexico, I don't know if they can come back in the return leg. I mean, we know that's going to be something that could happen, because we've seen a lot of MLS teams, especially playing against those Monterrey team that is Rayados and Tigres, getting smacked in the weekend, or not the opening weekend, but the opening leg, and it's just no coming back, even if their second leg is at home. That's what I fear about Orlando City. But we'll see whether if they can maybe help on their own. And at least in this game, I think one positive I will say coming out of this game is that at least they definitely hold their own, especially on the defensive end there against a relatively strong Cincinnati side. But it's going to be even tougher now that they're going to be facing against a Tigres side that that Tigres side, that they have definitely got some goals scored on that team, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to play in that opening leg of a thrilling CCL match in that one. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board. And the last game on part 1 of this review is Austin versus Montreal. So we came very close of me talking about a hat trick of 0-0 draws in a review, which I don't think that has happened, where I talk about 3 straight 0-0 draws in a review. But this one definitely came close to it, because for about 88 minutes of this game, it was 0-0. And just like what I said about FC Cincinnati, it looked like Austin was in for a very frustrating night where they just cannot figure out their finishing and put one in. But thankfully, unlike Cincinnati, they eventually found a way to get a well-deserved goal here, and they were able to bounce back after just a rough game that they had in that one against St. Louis. But in the first half, Fagundes would hit one right to Saros before Rigoni's shot was deflected and it goes wide. I mean, that basically sums up Rigoni and his time with Austin FC. Like, you know, we know that when we talk about shots that is deflected, when you're in form, those deflection goes your way. But when you're not in form, like what we see with Rigoni during his time with Austin, yeah, those shots are not going to go in, and it's not a big surprise. The fact that one goes wide there. But I also thought that it was not a slow start this time for Austin. That was a big problem in the last game against St. Louis, but they definitely were coming out flying to push for the opening goal. Zardes would hit it wide from close range before Saros would deny Rigoni from point-blank range. By the way, this was the first game for Jonathan Saros, and I thought he had a good game in this one. In fact, I thought he did his best in terms of trying to keep this Montreal side to get a draw and even steal a point in this one. But in the 20th minute, Fagundes did have a shot that was deflected, and it goes wide there. Again, you know, Austin just haven't had that luck in terms of those deflections like what we've seen from other teams. But Miller did have the first opportunity for Montreal, as his chance from long range actually missed wide. Not very often you see a center back able to strike it very well that just missed the target, but that's what happened with Kamal Miller in that one. It was a lovely strike that is from him. But I also thought that Austin's got to be careful, because despite the fact that they were by far the better team, you know, they could definitely get themselves sucker punched by Montreal. And as I'll talk about in part 2 of the review, we saw that kind of happen to one of the team in these games. But in the 32nd minute, Zardes looked like he got the opening goal for Austin, and looked like he scored his first for Los Verdes. But the problem is, the flag went up. The goal was disallowed for offside. And then in the 33rd minute, Stuvert would rob Ray from point-blank range. And again, you know, Montreal, despite the fact that they were second best in this one, and they were kind of mostly getting dominant in the first half, they had some good looks. And that was probably the best chance with Sean Ray there with that point range effort, and Stuvert had to make a big save to rob him there. Speaking of Stuvert, he had to deny Chaunier in the front post, as Montreal definitely finished the first half the stronger side, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, not much chances to speak of, as I thought Montreal definitely did a good job in terms of making some good adjustment and limited the chance that Austin gets. And that's kind of interesting, because, you know, knowing Hernan Losada, this is a guy that he doesn't always just decided to maybe kind of go a little bit defensive and try to hold on for a bit. You know, Losada is a guy that loves to try to go for it and play that heavy metal kind of style of play during his DC day. But, you know, he definitely did a good job in terms of at least limited those chances. But it's also a combination of the fact that Austin couldn't really quite get going on the attack like what we saw in the first half, at least until the 77th minute, where they kind of started finding their stride again. Driussi would hit a weak shot that goes straight to Steres before Urruti came a post away from getting the opening goal for Austin. But the pressure was mounting on this Montreal side. Like Austin, they were piling the pressure, they were throwing the kitchen sink. But the question is, can they finally get one past Steres? And that, you know, Montreal, there was no doubt that they were playing for the 0-0 draw. Steres would then deny Finley from close range, but then in the 88th minute, Austin finally got the opening goal. And guess who it is? It's Maxi Urruti. Second game in a row that he faced against Montreal that gets the only goal in this encounter, because, you know, the last time both Austin and Montreal faced against each other, it was Urruti that scored the winning goal for this Austin side, and he would do the same thing in this one, as he scored here from Gallagher and Lima to give Austin the 1-0 lead, and that's all Austin need to seal all 3 points in this one, as the shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 9 that Montreal has, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that Montreal has. Both teams had 3 shots off target, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 6 that Austin has, and possession-wise, Austin did have the better possession, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Montreal has in this game. But again, for Austin, it was very important for them to get all 3 points in this game, because had they not got all 3 points in this one, it would have been a very frustrating result with them doing very well in the game, but just could not find their finishing. And also just the fact that in your first 2 home game and you only get 1 point out of your first 2 home games, and once again drop points at home, that's got to be very frustrating for those Los Verde faithful. But fortunately for them, that was not the case, and now that they, of course, will get some momentum heading into their first ever CCL game that is coming up during the middle of the week. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at the first 8 games as part of the first part of the review of match week number 2. Again, I will, of course, be doing part 2 of the review in just a bit. I'm basically going to erase the whole board and basically write the notes for the last 6 games and then record that. But most likely that video won't be uploaded until tomorrow. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these first 8 games as part of the first part of the review of match week number 2. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.